Are we live? I think we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Are we audible?
We'll have to connect, I think, Shabir also.
1%.
Can you hear us? Can somebody tell us if we are audible? People have started to join, I guess.
Yeah, I think the voice is fine.
So, sorry, friends, we're just trying to figure it out. Bear with us for a couple of minutes. Can you please add Shabir also?
I don't think I can. You can edit from your phone.
So, friends, my name is Shah Feasal. I'm here a graduate student at Harvard University, Kennedy School. I have a couple of friends with me. They will introduce themselves. Please.
Hello everyone, my name is Hazik. I am a PhD student in University of Massachusetts. My domain of research is computer science engineering, particularly AI and machine learning.
Hi everyone, my name is Junaid Nabi. I'm a physician and public health researcher at Harvard right now. And my focus is public health policies and health policies.
Hi everyone. I don't know if this is audible, but my name is Fatma Nabi, and I'm a recent graduate from Harvard School of Public Health, and I work in Brigham.
Hey friends, I am Mudassir Khande, and I'm a research fellow at Harvard Medical School, and my research interest is mainly on brain circuits and function.
Some very bright people here. We are sorry for the kind of a formal setting which is at the moment. I think as the video goes on, we are going to get a little bit more informal. We're just trying to figure out the technology. This is for the first time we are doing this podcast. I want you people to speak as well. I'm not kind of anchor here.
So please excuse our
lack of coordination today. But we'll try to answer most of the questions and get a conversation started so that next time we do this, we have a better idea of how to respond.
So we are getting a lot of questions. I think firstly, let us tell you that we are from Harvard Square this time. This is a place which is like in the center of the Harvard University campus, a very, very famous place across the world. A lot of things keep on happening here. Boston is a kind of a city where you have at least, how many universities are there in Boston?
More than 50.
50, more than 50 universities in a very small city, and many of these universities are in the world. We call them QR rankings or what? Can you tell us more about that? Yeah. Would you like to tell more about the education sector, kind of how Boston as a city has developed as a knowledge capital?
So I think it started off with it has a long history of Harvard being one of the earliest universities in this country, and that has sort of inspired other places around it. And this is sort of a home for a lot of large academic institutes. Harvard University, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. We have University of Massachusetts. They have a lot of campuses here. And then there are a lot of smaller undergrad colleges.
You can see maybe Howard campus. You can just turn the camera for a second. Show them the Howard Square as well. Can you go there? Yeah, so we were talking about Cambridge, and most of the questions today which we are getting are about the international education, how we came here and what we are doing here basically. I have told my story earlier also. I would want to first know from Junaid how he got into Harvard and what's the kind of process which he had to follow.
Thanks for that, Faisal. I think one of the reasons why people come here, and one of the most effective ways to try to get into a place like Harvard is to be doing something meaningful. I think that is something very important.
something that has relevance for a broader audience outside academia, something that has an impact on regular people, something that affects people's lives. And I was involved with a lot of health systems building. I am from Kashmir originally.
Junaid, I have a question for you. Somebody is asking how does one get your accent? I'm also kind of curious. I'm also trying to pick up American accent, but it's getting difficult.
No, I don't know about that. It's just I think practice. I think I've been.
Fatima, any thoughts on that? How do we?
I think it's all.
You have a very pure accent. I mean, how do we do it?
Marry an American.
Maybe. So we'll have to be in America for a longer time.
Yeah, I think that works. Yeah, I think it's practice. I think you just keep talking to a lot of people and you pick up on it, and you learn more and you keep. I don't see it as an accent issue. I think it's more of your language gets a little bit more. The edges around it get smoother. Wow.
So we have a question from Sheikh Imtiaz. He's asking, can a person with average academic credentials make it to Harvard? You will have to first maybe connect Shabir also meanwhile, by the time Junaid or maybe Fatima will tell us more about that.
I think we are not able to connect Shabir right now. I have invited him to watch the video with us, but we are formally not able to, give him access to this video. I think it doesn't exist in Facebook right now.
Shabir, if you're listening to us, can you also please maybe come in the comments and try to answer the questions so that we can possibly read out your answers to our viewers?
Do you mind if I chime in actually? About this?
Yeah, I want you to do it,
yeah,
please.
So I can't speak on every school and their.
You'll have a bit more loud, I guess, maybe.
Okay, I don't know if you can hear me. I said, I can't speak for every school and their admission process, and it varies according to whoever's looking at your application. So there's no set formula. However, I would like to say personally, if I'm being perfectly honest, I didn't have the brightest GRE score. So I don't know exactly what your question is. I mean, are you talking about GPA or GRE or, what do you mean academically not strong? So you have to compensate with something else. Your portfolio should have something that stands out, that makes them think, I want to take a chance with this person, My GPA and other aspect was fine, but my GRE personally, the quant aspect was...
So what's the most critical thing for getting into Harvard? What do you think? Is it about quant? Is it about GRE? Is it about the kind of academic credentials which
it's
you come with?
Holistic process,
It's a holistic process.
If you for undergrad, for example, you need to have perfect SATs. You do need all of these things. But I think for grad school, because it's a much older crowd, you're getting people for example, in my program, we had people easily in their mid-30s, mid-career people. So they had a lot of contributions in their field, whatever their respective field was. So they came in with a lot of experience, a lot of, just a lot of things to offer. Because in Harvard, they always say that you don't learn from your teachers. You really don't. But you learn from your cohort. You learn from your peers. So it's really important that they get a cohort that is rich in experiences with a lot of stories to share from their own life.
We have an interesting fact to share. Fatima is from Bangladesh. Her parents are from Bangladesh, and she's an American-born, married to a Kashmiri. A very interesting equation there. Yeah, very interesting couple. Both of them are doctors at Harvard. And we have Mudassir here. Mudassir will tell you a little bit more about the research he's pursuing. Mudassir is from Pulwama, by the way. He's from Anantnag, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, honestly, as Fatima discussed about getting into Harvard, I think it's not a big deal. Given my education, I have been in a government school in the village, and I think anybody can do it unless if you have motivation to do anything, and if you are really interested in research, for example. And getting into Harvard is not a big deal if you really try to work hard and try to do whatever you want to do. If you are interested in research, if you are interested in any kind of other stuff you want to do, in the medical school or anything, you can easily get into it. And I'm working on the brain circuits, which are brain itself is a complex organ. So working in the...
Can you tell us in simple language, what's your research like and how is it going to help people?
I am working on a project which is basically sleep apnea. There is a disorder while we are sleeping that there is decrease in the oxygen.
A lot of people snore in the night during sleep.
That's kind of
what we call sleep apnea.
sleep apnea is like increasing the carbon dioxide level during like when you are sleeping, and so your breathing kind of stops, and there are like deaths also like even during sleep. So we are trying to solve the circuits which are regulating this kind of behavior in like in model system, and then eventually it will be translated into the human.
I'm sure many of you must be wondering that nobody is able to understand what this research is all about. Honestly speaking, there are such brilliant things happening in Harvard, in MIT, and in other universities that it actually feels like it's science fiction, that maybe in next 20 years, 30 years, we could have never imagined possibly those things would happen someday.
So basically, like in all organs in our body are like kind of made of cells, and those cells are connected with one another. Like if we are feeling hungry, like from our stomach, signal goes to the like brain that we are hungry, and then we start eating. Likewise, like in the brain, if we are like hungry, so there are some centers which are activated during that time, and like those cells are active, and when they get nutrients, proper nutrients, like in the hypothalamus in the brain area, one of the brain area is called the hypothalamus. So when we get signals from the stomach that we are now full, so they stop firing, and when we are like our stomach is empty, when we are feeling hungry, so they are more active, and then they start like coming becoming active, and then we feel hungry. And like we are trying to understand like if we are like activating them in rodent models like rat and mice, so how they are like
Then we can turn
affecting the system in terms of like we are artificially putting viruses which are like viruses which have some receptors which are activated by like light. So this is kind of we can modulate any circuits in the brain, like activating them depending on our will. Like if we try to, we have centers which are like, for example, for feeding. Whenever we are hungry, so they are active. And if we want to translate this into rodent system, like we want to feel, let them eat, even they are full of stomach.
I think this is getting too technical. I will request Munasir to share a couple of facts about what he likes about Cambridge, or what are the three unique things about Cambridge. Something which we would want to maybe have in Kashmir one day.
So yeah, honestly
Kashmir
speaking,
Patikar Mazmuskat, so that we have a little bit of connection with the Kashmiri audience as well. Yeah.
like
Should I start? Should I say first? मैं क्या बात है सारे खुद जबरदस्त चीज मुझे यहाँ तीन चीजें बड़ी जबरदस्त लगी जो मुझे लगा कि which makes this place unique and which makes maybe all the America unique. One is that people don't honk here. अगर आप बाहर जाओगे कोई आपको गाड़ी में किसी में हॉर्न नहीं बजता. मेरे को ये तकरीबन ज़रूर रात के मेटियो में शुभ बोझ हॉर्न चीनी इतना करा इतना इशू एम मान द वारिया मैनलेस चीज. This is
Yes.
yeah, one thing from me. Second, the city is very very clean. और ऐसे उतर करा मामूली एस्पर पानी जाक एक्सपेरिमेंटा कि ये छिन मच आसान बिल्कुल कहीं थे. तो इस कशीर में इतना बातस में ऐसा मच वता ब्रथ अंदर आप पूरी सिटी ढूंढो आपको मक्खी नहीं मिलेगी. ये चीज. त्रेयम को ये छिन हून कहीं कशीर में श्रीनगर में खासकर मुझे बस 2 लाख हून सानिस शहर में बिकॉज हमने अभी वेस्ट डिस्पोजल वहां पर प्रॉपर नहीं किया. यहाँ आपको स्ट्रीट डॉग्स नहीं मिलेगी. ये स्ट्राइकिंग चीज यम यत सिटी स्पेशल च बनावा. These are these three special things about this city which I found के which जो आपको पहले ही कुछ यूनिक चीज इसमें बारे में लगती है. Junaid, you can also share your 3 fun facts about Cambridge.
I think it would be the weather. I like the fall. We're in fall right now. I think fall is one of my favorite weathers here. You know, the leaves turning brown and golden. And I think the people. You know, I think if you go to a regular restaurant or just to have a food at a Subway, you'll probably have a Nobel Prize laureate on one side, and you'll have a postdoc working on the latest stem cell technology on the other side. So I think that also gives you a lot of inspiration of how you know, what you can do in your life. But I think going back to Faisal's point, I think it's important to understand that what he was mentioning is it's more related to the civic duty rather than the people. I think a lot of people here, they take civic duty very seriously. I think they're very cognizant of the fact that we need to keep the city clean. We need to not trash the public roads or public spaces, and that's something we have some time. We need to catch up on that. I think that's missing in our local communities.
Shabir, there are a lot of questions. By the way, Shabir Saab जो है वो इस वक्त Netherlands में है. He was going to join us. In fact, he's one of the key members of this team. तो उनसे हम expect कर रहे थे कि he will be guiding you better. He has been in Harvard MIT for a long time. So Shabir, a lot of questions about education in Europe. अगर आप थोड़ा सा हमें comments में जवाब देंगे तो I'll be reading out your comments to the audience. कि जर्मनी में और यूरोप में जो एजुकेशन की अपॉर्चुनिटीज हैं वो क्या हैं और व्हाट शुड बी पीपल डूइंग अबाउट दैट. मीनवाइल वी हैव वसीम यूसुफ, वो हाय कह रहे हैं जुनैद को. ही हैज बीन जुनैद्स बैचमेट. ओके, हाउ कैन अ वेटरनरी स्टूडेंट गेट द रिक्वायर्ड जीपीए? वेट स्टूडेंट कैसे जीपीए रिक्वायर्ड मिल सकता है उसको? मे बी हाजिक कैन टॉक अबाउट दैट.
I think, right.
By the way, some Zubair Saeed Masoodi is asking Hazik that how Hazik could get there. So Hazik can talk about his journey to UMass. Hazik is in this time here.
So I would say that the chances of getting admitted to this place, like in any university, be it like the Harvard or UMass or any other university in Massachusetts, I think it just depends on the overall application, like how strong your credentials are, not just the GPA. Even if your GPA is like average 60%, I think that works fine, fine for most of the schools here. But like if you have a better GRE score and then you have other credentials, maybe extracurricular, you have been associated to these research organizations like IEEE, for example, in computer science that I know, or Computer Society of India, if we talk about the organizations that are in India, or maybe you have been following groups like United Nations and seeing how the being you have been associated to any kind of extracurricular subject matter group. I think that helps a lot, and I think overall it will just depend on your statement of purpose, because the committee which evaluates your admission, they take it very seriously. Like, what do you really want to do?
I'll stop Hazik there. Actually, I'll just be. मैं इसको थोड़ा सिंप्लीफाई करके बताता हूँ कि ये जो 3 फेजेस हैं इसके जो एडमिशन प्रोसेस है हार्वर्ड और एमआईटी का. आपको क्या करना है कि ये जो एप्लीकेशन प्रोसेस स्टार्ट होता है सितंबर के आसपास, और अगर आपको ग्रेजुएट कोर्सेज में लेना है यानी मास्टर्स कोर्सेज में जाना है तो आपको अपनी बैचलर्स डिग्री है वो कंप्लीट होनी चाहिए. आप डायरेक्टली पीएचडी इंटीग्रेटेड में भी कुछ कोर्सेज में जा सकते हो. सबसे बड़ी चीज है आपके जो एकेडमिक क्रेडेंशियल्स है वो होने चाहिए बहुत अच्छे. यू शुड बी एन एक्सीलेंट स्टूडेंट. अभी किसी हमारे एक व्यूअर का था कि आप जी एवरेज स्टूडेंट्स के हार्वर्ड एमआईटी आ सकते हैं. आई हैव नो आइडिया वो आ सकते हैं कि नहीं आ सकते हैं. आई एम श्योर कि पहला जो रिक्वायरमेंट है वो एकेडमिक क्रेडेंशियल्स है. सेकंड चीज है आपका जो पर्सनल स्टेटमेंट है, आपका जो स्टेटमेंट ऑफ पर्पस है वो बड़ा स्ट्रांग होना चाहिए. आप क्यों हार्वर्ड आना चाहते हैं, आपके रिसर्च इंटरेस्ट क्या है, आपका एकेडमिक बैकग्राउंड क्या है, वो उसमें रिफ्लेक्ट हो जाए, और आपका विजन क्या है पूरी दुनिया के लिए. आई थिंक दैट इज समथिंग व्हिच इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर हार्वर्ड एंड एमआईटी. Fatima, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, as I was saying earlier, they see the applicant very holistically. So I can't really say there's an exact formula, because when I look across my cohort, like everyone had something different to offer. Whether it was somebody who was very, I mean, I would like to say everyone is. I don't know anyone who wasn't like strong academically, so it's not fair to say, oh, they take anybody, but there's always something extra that they offer. Like somebody created their own nonprofit, or they worked for a long time on in the UN, or they worked with refugees. I mean, there's always something extraordinary in their portfolio that stands out. So you could be straight A student, preferring score. I'm sorry to say, but that's not enough. Like
exactly.
There's so
even if you get maybe 100 on 100
yeah.
in a GRE score and your application is not kind of very impressive, then still you may not be able to get it.
Yeah.
We have a question regarding fellowships. A lot of students are interested in fellowships. I'll be talking about my fellowship. I'm here on a Fulbright fellowship. It happens every year. You have to just send your statement of purpose, apply online. Some courses require GRE scores and TOEFL scores. You go through a screening process and then they go for an interview as well. If you're able to kind of impress the panel, and then you definitely get in, and you get entire your course gets sponsored, and entire living expenses, the tuition fees, everything else gets taken care of. For PhD people, what kind of fellowships do they get? I think Mudassir, you want to talk about that? Hazik is having a fellowship. Yeah, you can talk about your fellowship.
So for a fellowship, I would say the first and foremost point of contact in the to get into the PhD program with a fellowship would be to contact the professor, because you have to contact the professor and talk to him in advance of applying to a school. If you are applying to a school, say UMass for example, you have to see what kind of faculty is working on your subject of interest, and then you have to contact all those professors, talk to them, tell them what do you want to do in your PhD program, and it's up to the professors to give you fellowship and to fund you from their research grants. So that's how it works mostly here, that the professors have their own research grants, and they fund you based on what if they want to work with you. So you should contact the professors in advance, talk to them about what.
Can they email professors directly?
Yeah,
means you can get an email address online and you can directly talk.
Exactly.
To the
you can visit the website of the school and see the listing of the professors that teach there. See your specific interest, contact the professor, and people are like very very friendly here. So you might think that if they can if you contact the professor, he might not reply, but it never happens. Mostly they reply.
People here are really really polite. I think if there's one thing which we need to learn from West is that how to be polite with people. You will go around, you will walk around, and people will be greeting you. Everybody will be wishing you. People pass on smiles, and people act very hospitable with you. I think this is something which we need to remember, and we need to do as well back home. We have
we have one more thing in Boston that I particularly love. I mean, the thing about this place that I really really love is the diversity. Once you go outside into the street, you may bump into people who are from North Korea, South Korea, Japan, and Africa, like everywhere in the world. Like there is so much of diversity, and that gives you kind of an experience and understanding of life that you might not get anywhere else. So that's a very wonderful thing to have in a place where you want to be.
So I have a question from Wasim Parvez. He says he's asking Junaid that how free do you feel here? So do you feel very free in Boston?
I think it's one of the most liberal cities in the U.S. So yes, it is definitely the level of discrimination or bad attitudes. It's a lot less compared to a lot of other cities in this country. And overall, the climate right now in the U.S. is a little bit hostile for outsiders. But Boston being a mostly student-oriented academic city, I think that sort of compensates for a lot of problems this country has right now.
Kabir Hassan is giving us a very good input that we should talk more about fellowships. So you have fellowships which are Harvard-based fellowships. MIT also gives you fellowships. Depending on the kind of research you want to pursue, the kind of personal statement which you have, or the story which you have, I would suggest that more of you should pursue co-curricular interests. You should go into writing, do some social work, people who are in non-profit, people who have done community service, people who are doing something very challenging. I think they have more opportunities of getting these fellowships here at Harvard and MIT. And besides that, you have a lot of other fellowships which are not necessarily Harvard and MIT fellowships, like Fulbright, Aga Khan Foundation Fellowship, and there are some other. There's a whole bunch of list of fellowships which you can. Yeah, and somebody who wants to do maybe an international development for them, World Bank Japan Fellowship is a very good fellowship. You can check that out on the net. I think that is something which funds your entire course, which is otherwise very expensive. There are a lot of people who want to talk about. There is somebody wants Hazik to talk about artificial intelligence. Hazik, you can tell some inputs about artificial intelligence. What's this artificial intelligence about?
One of the things that I experienced being here in the United States for 2 years is that I'm not seeing many Kashmiri people like picking up computer science as a subject matter and pursuing higher research in that. And that's very that's very surprising to me, because at this point of time, if you look around, what's the hottest thing right now here in the United States? It will be something related to computer science. It will be blockchain technology. It will be AI. It will be machine learning, and it will be something that has something to do with computer science. And the thing is that not many people.
In simple terms, because we have people from faraway areas of the country also watching us, so AI का जो application मुझे यहाँ लगा जो अभी तक automation का मैंने देखा, you can go into a store, आप store में कुछ भी shopping कर सकते हैं और उसके बाद आप automatically self checkout करेंगे. कोई आपके store में आपके हाथ में क्या है, आपने क्या लिया, वो सब recorded है. आप खुद ही चीजें उठा के बैग में डाल के अंदर जाके खुद ही पेमेंट ऑटोमेटिकली करके निकल सकते हैं। सारी चीज को ऑटोमेट किया गया है।
जैसे हमारे पास एक Amazon स्टोर है और like right now we have self-driving cars around the corner. If you want to see like the applications of AI, AI या जो machine learning है या statistical analysis है या data science है, they put us in a very unique perspective that you can literally apply it to anything. Like Mudassir, he is doing neuroscience right now, but you can use AI in neuroscience. Junaid, he is doing public policy, but he's working a lot in AI ethics and how we have to take AI forward. And right now, if you see here in the US, I think AI is one of the hottest things, like that everyone asks for. So that's really like because of its potential and because the way it can transform humanity and the way it has the potential to tackle the problems we as humans face the most.
यहाँ पे मैं एक इनपुट शबीर हसन का शेयर करूंगा कि रामन फेलोशिप एक बहुत ही अच्छी फेलोशिप है जो बच्चे लेते हैं। रामन फेलोशिप आप नेट पे चेक कर सकते हैं। यूपीएससी के बारे में जो सिविल सर्विसेज के क्वेश्चंस है वो मैं किसी और वाली इसमें ले लूंगा, बिकॉज आज हम इंटरनेशनल एजुकेशन को डिस्कस कर रहे हैं। यहाँ पे क्वेश्चन है जुनैद के लिए और फातिमा के लिए कि जो एमएससी पब्लिक हेल्थ है और जो इसकी जो पब्लिक हेल्थ के पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट कोर्सेज हैं इनका स्कोप क्या है? व्हाट इज द स्कोप ऑफ दिस कोर्सेज? व्हाट काइंड ऑफ जॉब्स डू यू लैंड इन? Yeah, Fatima.
Okay, ladies first. So public health, actually a lot of people don't understand it, but it's a very broad field. Sorry if I'm not audible. I'm always told to speak
You have to
louder.
be a little bit more louder, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
It's a very broad field. So really you can apply to pretty much anything. Like people who graduated with me, I would say 90% of the cohort roughly were physicians. So many of them, went back to medical practice. Many of them ended up working for the NIH. One of my friends recently ended up getting a job at the NIH. So many of them go for WHO, UN, like World Health Organization, and even the smaller organizations that are just starting up. So many of them have started their own nonprofits. So it varies quite a bit. And even within public health, there's so many different sectors. Personally, I was in global health policy. So a lot of these people have projects overseas missions. But let's say someone who's in health policy, that's more US centric. So, like they would end up like advising to a senator and, potentially eyeing public office one day. So it varies.
So there are a lot of jobs,
yes,
basically. So Fatima, would you also please talk about how do you draft your SOP? Because this is an important question. Couple of tips, brief, and then Mudassir will also talk about how do we draft. SOP is the most important paper which you need to write for getting an admission. I think that is something which we need to talk about. Shabir has asked for us to talk more about SOP.
Okay, well, I think overall,
For graduate admissions.
Yeah. So I think in Kashmir there's like well, I'm not Kashmiri, so I apologize if I'm saying anything wrong, but there's almost a notion to be like perfect.
She's a Kashmiri now, by the way. I think she is.
I am by default, I guess. But I think people always put their best face forward, which is great. You should. But here, I find that they really like humility and open, just honesty.
So humility and honesty would be something which should be reflected in. Yes. Means you cannot write lies in your statement.
You can't be like, oh,
this is not something which happens.
Yeah, that's already there in your CV. They know you're great, but they want to see the person behind the scenes.
It should be brief. It should be to the point, I guess.
Huh? Yeah, they don't have time to read through like very lengthy. I mean, you should maintain a certain like word count, and that's very important. They should be concise, but to the point and grabs attention. And personally, in mine, like I was quite vulnerable. Like I talked about very personal things, and I think it worked out in my favor personally.
Are there any templates also available online? Suppose somebody can go online and check what is your statement of purpose. Somebody who's interested in getting our statements of purpose, I'll request Shabir also, maybe so we can post them somewhere on a group somewhere. In our next podcast, maybe we will have a discussion in detail about all these things. But yeah, you can get in touch with us who wants to have a copy of our SOPs. Fatima, your voice is breaking.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yes,
it's because of the setting. I think one thing that a lot of people may not understand completely is that the personal statement is not it's not a litany of how much you have achieved. It has to be more about you as a person. Have you done all this work for glory, or are you trying to impact certain lives, or what sort of impact do you want to have? So I think that should be reflected in your personal statement and your future plans. And I would also like to add that a lot of universities have specific instructions. So you have to keep that in mind. There's sometimes a word count, there's sometimes a question you have to answer, which they have put forth, and sometimes it's a free flow application. So keep in mind what the instructions are and be sure to follow them.
So I was told that, when I had to write my statement of purpose for the Kennedy School, I was told that I should not put in too much of my CV into it. So whatever professional things I have done all these years, I did reflect a little bit about that in the SOP, but it was not my CV rewritten. So because it gets very boring if you're talking about I did this assignment and then I did this posting and then I did this work, because in any case in your CV everything gets reflected. You will have to really present yourself as a creative, passionate, interested person, somebody who wants to bring change to the world. I think that's what Harvard and MIT is about. This is all about changing the world. Mudassir will talk about the kind of ideas which actually cut ice here.
तो इनके पास मतलब हार्वर्ड
थोड़ा आगे आप आ जाएंगे.
हार्वर्ड के पास एक टेम्पलेट है हाउ टू राइट कवर लेटर एंड हाउ टू ड्राफ्ट लाइक एसओपी. Honestly, like I saw that, like even if you are कोई आप बड़े प्रोफेसर हो, उनका भी सीवी 3 पेज से ज्यादा नहीं होना चाहिए. इट शुड बी क्रिस्प, इट शुड बी वेरी शॉर्ट, क्योंकि इतना टाइम होता नहीं किसी के पास कितना लंबा कवर लेटर पढ़े और फिर उसको जाके एक एक चीज को देखे. So it should be very like when I wrote my cover letter for a professor, I wrote only I think 6 or 7 lines that what I have done and what I have not, like what I want to pursue. So as Fatima said, उसमें honesty होनी चाहिए कि क्या करना चाहते हो और क्यों करना चाहते हो, and tell only briefly what you have done because it is written in your CV already. State cover letter में बहुत ही short and crisp होना चाहिए.
आबिद अब्दुल्ला शेख पूछ रहे हैं कि मैं यहाँ क्या करने आया हूँ. मैं भी अपना जो पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन है वो यहाँ करने आया हूँ. IAS ज्वाइन करने के बाद मुझे ज्यादा मौका नहीं मिला पढ़ने का, सो मेरी लाइफ में आई वांटेड अ ब्रेक. और यहाँ आके मुझे जबरदस्त नई नई चीजें पता चलती हैं. एवरी डे आई एम ग्रोइंग हियर, आई गेट टाइम टू स्टडी, आई गेट टाइम टू रिफ्लेक्ट. और कैनेडी स्कूल में दुनिया के सबसे बड़े बड़े लोग हैं और वहाँ पे उनके साथ इंटरेक्ट करने का मौका मिलता है. अपने छोटे होने का एहसास मिलता है कि हम कितने बैकवर्ड और कितने, मतलब मैं बैकवर्ड नहीं कहूँगा उस सेंस में, मैं ये कहूँगा कि हमारी लाइफ में अभी हमें कितना कुछ सीखने की जरूरत है. When I came here, honestly speaking, हर दिन यहाँ पे ह्यूमन इंटरेक्शन आपका जिस तरह से होता है वो बिल्कुल यूनिक है. दुनिया बहुत आगे बढ़ चुकी है और हमें भी कोशिश करनी है कि हम उन लोगों के साथ चलें. इनके पास जो अच्छा है वो हमें अपने वहाँ लेना है. ऑब्वियसली हर सोसाइटी की अपनी प्रॉब्लम्स होती हैं. I won't say that this is a perfect society, but I think there are such great things happening here जिनसे डेफिनेटली हमें सीखने की जरूरत है. जुनैद, what is your thought about that? Things, I mean, every society is having its own problems, I'm sure. You would agree?
Definitely. I think all of us are in this journey, and some of us are a little bit ahead and some of us are a little bit back. But like I was alluding to initially, I think it's more about having a strong sense of civic duty, having a strong sense of fellowship towards your colleagues and your neighbors and your friends. I think to be supportive of each other in every aspect, like you were saying initially, everyone tries to help each other, and even though everyone is competitive, everyone wants to get ahead, but there is a difference between trying to get ahead on your own and trying to get ahead with everyone with you. And I think the focus is on
what was in your mind when you were, Shabir has a question that what was in your mind? What kind of dreams do you have when you thought about coming to Harvard?
So
what does it mean to you?
My journey started when I was working on some of the projects on social entrepreneurship in Dhaka and later on in India for some time, and learning from people like Muhammad Yunus, who has been an inspiration, and learning from him about how we can use very simple techniques to have very large impacts. And that is what inspired me to do it. And there were friends and mentors who were supportive throughout. But the bigger goal was how can we use, my problem has always been that people try to use very complex solutions to very simple problems. And the solution is usually very simple, but everyone is thinking so, in such a complicated way that everyone else seems it's untenable. You won't be able to reach there. So learning from Mohammed Yunus and his microfinance schemes, I think it was very apparent to me that we can solve a lot of problems out there, but just following simple, robust, time-tested methods.
Would you talk about the TOEFL scores? We are having many questions about the TOEFL and GRE scores as well as IELTS scores. Fatima, any inputs on that?
Well, I didn't take the TOEFL, but I did take the GRE.
You didn't need to take the TOEFL. TOEFL is for people like us.
But yeah, so for the GRE, there's 3 components. There's like a math with quantitative part, a vocab section, as well as like a writing section. So, you know,
how difficult is GRE? I mean, how much hard work do you need to put in?
No, I mean, honestly, even the math, I'll be honest, the math is like hardly like 5th, 6th grade level math. Problem is with me, because I was in clinical for so long, and you know, when you're like out of touch with like math, I mean, I haven't done math since high school, so you know, just going back to it and restudying these things, it was a bit of a brain fart. But
it becomes difficult. Actually, I also did my GRE 2 years back, and I was I think I was doing some important posting in J&K that time. तो मेरे लिए भी बहुत ज़बरदस्त बात थी कि मैं जाऊँ और तैयारी करूँ और एग्जाम दे दूँ. मैंने भी जो मैथ्स वगैरह है ये मैंने क्लास 12 के बाद पढ़ा नहीं था. इनफैक्ट क्लास 10 के बाद. But I did not find much difficult. I think I got decent scores, and in TOEFL and IELTS I did not face any difficulty. And for Harvard, the TOEFL IELTS requirements are a little bit high. So Harvard requirements depend on the course as well. But I think for TOEFL it's at least 110, and for TOEFL it's 110. For IELTS there are many courses where you need a minimum of 7. Minimum of 7 in all the 3 sectors. Am I correct?
Yeah.
You can correct me on that.
Yeah, I think for certain universities, including if you are looking at some of the universities in England, for example, Oxford or Cambridge, the TOEFL requirements are a little bit higher, around 110. But the best way to prepare for such exams is not really cramming the book and trying to just memorize stuff. I think what you would benefit from is just speaking with people regularly, because one of the TOEFL components is speaking. So 25% is from speaking and hearing, which you have to interpret. So I think speaking with your friends, speaking with your teachers, trying to write stuff down, trying to basically using it up as a language rather than a subject.
Exactly. One of the interesting things which happens here is that people test your concepts, they don't test your rote knowledge. Most of the exams which we are appearing in here, जो मैंने exam पिछले कुछ टाइम से दिए हैं, सब open book exam है. आपको allowed है, आप internet चलाओ, book रखो सामने, जो करना, copy करना करो. आप पूरी दुनिया से अगर copy करना चाहोगे, still you won't be able to do that question paper if you don't have the concepts.
Right. Yeah.
और copying और बाकी चीजों का तो concept ही नहीं है यहाँ पे academic integrity पे बहुत focus है. ऐसे में हमने एग्जाम सिस्टम यहाँ का जो देखा वो बहुत यूनिक है. यहाँ की जो टीचर्स हैं, पीपल आर वेरी वेरी डेडिकेटेड, वेरी कमिटेड. मुझे यहाँ इस जगह का सबसे जबरदस्त चीज ये लगी कि इंटेग्रिटी इज समथिंग. पीपल एक्चुअली मीन बिजनेस. पीपल आर वेरी सीरियस अबाउट व्हाट दे आर टॉकिंग. एक क्वेश्चन आया था कि हु गेट्स मोर पेड देयर. आई थिंक यहाँ पे सबसे ज्यादा जो सैलरीज मिलती हैं वो डॉक्टर्स को मिलती हैं, और बाकी जो स्टार्टअप्स हैं, एंटरप्रेन्योर्स हैं, एग्जीक्यूटिव्स हैं, उनको मिलती हैं. लेकिन टीचर्स आर आल्सो वेरी मच रिस्पेक्टेड हियर. टीचर्स को बहुत जबरदस्त इज्जत है यहाँ पे, और पब्लिक स्कूल सिस्टम यहाँ का बहुत स्ट्रांग है. You were talking about something.
Yeah, I think same. I would just add that
teachers के बारे में we were telling कि teachers या यहाँ का जो university system है उसके बारे में आपका क्या experience है कि teachers कैसे हैं? Haziq as well as Mudassir, you want to chip in on that?
I think people take their duty very very seriously. I have never experienced anything like a teacher will miss a class ever. Like it never happens here कि कोई टीचर फिर क्लास में नहीं आता है, वो बोलता है कि नहीं आज क्लास नहीं करेंगे, कभी और करेंगे. ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता है. They have a very fixed schedule that you get, at the beginning of the semester you get a full schedule कि हम इस सेमेस्टर में कैसे क्या काम करने वाले हैं या हम क्या पढ़ने वाले हैं. वैसा लाइक एक प्रॉपर टेम्पलेट मिलता है, तो उसी टेम्पलेट के अकॉर्डिंग लाइक पूरा सेमेस्टर चलता है. और क्लासेस के बारे में मैं लाइक
हाँ ये क्वेश्चन शबीर ने भी पूछा है कि आपका दिन कैसे गुजरता है, उस बारे में थोड़ा बात करें कि हाउ आर द क्लासेस लाइक. मुदस्सिर, हाउ इज योर पीएचडी कोर्स हियर गोइंग ऑन? क्या पोस्ट डॉक, सॉरी, कैसे होता है, क्या करना होता है?
Like हमारा तो पूरा lab है, मतलब we are working experimental
Yeah, exactly. So what kind of how much time do you commit to your research?
So ये अपनी free will के है जितना आप करना चाहते हो, but at the same time you have to think about the project you are pursuing, like कितना आपको input देना है. Like I can sometimes 10 बजे तक रात में भी काम करता हूँ, so there 24 hours access to the lab. तो आप लैब में 24 घंटे काम कर सकते हैं, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, लेकिन यही है, इट इज अप टू यू, बिकॉज आप इतने मैच्योर हो कि आपको खुद ही डिसाइड करना है कि मेरा प्रोजेक्ट आगे जा रहा है, यू हैव टू वर्क ऑन इट, एंड लाइक देयर इज ऑलवेज प्रेशर लाइक ऑफ वर्किंग हियर.
मैं भी इसमें चिप इन करूं कि ऑनेस्टली स्पीकिंग मैं पूरी लाइफ में आई हैव बीन अ स्टूडियस गाय, बट मुझे भी लगता है बहुत रगड़ा है यहाँ पे, मेहनत बहुत करनी पड़ रही है. आई एम श्योर अदर फ्रेंड्स विल आल्सो एग्री. बहुत काम है जी, बहुत काम. मतलब मैं यहाँ पे पहले दिनों में इतना अनॉय हुआ बिकॉज देयर वाज सो मच वर्क टू बी डन, और हमें वहाँ पे बहुत दिनों से मुझे आदत भी नहीं थी बिकॉज आई वाज इन माय जॉब एज वेल, और हमने इस तरह से डीप थिंकिंग की नहीं थी चीज़ों के बारे में, हम बहुत सुपरफिशियली चलते थे. तो यहाँ पे आके इट हैज बीन काइंड ऑफ एन आई ओपनर फॉर मी. Hazik and Junaid, yeah, as well as Fatima. About your days, how do you spend your days and kind of the work you're doing? कितना मुश्किल है?
Officially, there is not a lot of workload. I mean, we have, even if you take a full course load, we have classes just twice a week. That, one of our classes goes for like 1 hour and 30 minutes. That's like how a class usually lasts. But, it's more about like how much you are putting after the class that really counts here. And you have to do it. You have no option but to do all that kind of homework, assignments, read the study material, do your problems on your own. Then only you can expect to have a good score in the class. Even though there's not a lot of workload from the school, you just have to attend classes for say twice a week. But the rest of the week gets so busy in doing getting ready for the classes of the week that you really don't find time for anything else while you are taking a full
very
course.
busy. Weekends are fun. आज weekend है यहाँ पे बड़ा जबरदस्त मजा है. But weekdays are really hectic. आप फातिमा आप बताएं.
Yeah, I would say,
तो कैसा काम है? How does it feel like?
It's very customizable, I would say. So each class is, like Hazik said, is typically 1.5 hours long. And so you can coordinate. I mean, you can organize your schedule in a way that you can have all the classes on, let's say, every other day, or you want to have like a 4-day weekend. You can customize it however you want. And they always urge us it's not just about classes. Like the Harvard experience, for example, it's not just classes. I mean, there's so much more. I'm at the Longwood campus, which is in Boston, not in Cambridge, but there's always talks going on. We take the shuttle, we come to Cambridge, we're attending like a talk by a Nobel laureate or some big shot in
some
politics.
of the big people actually. Yeah, you can meet some of the best minds.
So it's not just classes. I mean, you can get classes pretty much anywhere. I mean, you're learning the same thing essentially. But
so there's a question for Junaid as well. How do you plan your next day? How do you plan your day? Yeah.
Well, I mean, the plan it happens a month before. So for me, it's usually at least 3-4 weeks before I have a set schedule. We have a calendar, and the calendar is set, for example, for meetings, for clinical work, for research work. I think being very good with Google Calendar or Outlook Calendar, I usually use those digital tools to plan the week.
Zubair Saeed Masoodi shares his research interests with Mudassir. Mudassir, आप Zubair साहब, I'll request Zubair to get in touch with Mudassir. और आपका जो research interest है, इसमें जो common चीजें आपकी हैं, you can talk about that once you actually get in touch. Breen Hazik is asking how hard is it to get through, especially if you are a fresh graduate.
She's in here. She lives in
Yeah,
Boston.
I think Breen Hazik, we expected you to be on the podcast today, but yeah, it's okay. I think it's okay. I mean, anybody who's a fresher also, what I understand is that they can get in. I think, Fatima, on freshers getting into Harvard, MIT?
For the grad schools, they typically experience at least 3 to 5 worth of experience, years of experience.
If you're looking at professional programs.
Yeah, so experience is a must.
If you're looking at professional programs, अगर आप किसी professional program में जाना चाहते हैं, खासकर Kennedy School के program में जाना चाहते हैं, तो थोड़ा सा experience is expected of you. So experience always adds to your जो आपका application होता है.
Usually be mentioned on the.
And you will have to mention it. There are 3 questions basically on PhD economics, PhD finance, PhD English, and PhD in sociology. तो मुदस्सिर PhD का जो प्रोसेस है यहाँ पे वो क्या है, थोड़ा सा उस बारे में बताएं. How do you get a PhD at Harvard?
Sorry.
I'll take that.
Yeah, you're just enrolled for a PhD. How's it can share?
For PhD, the minimum requirement is that you have a undergrad 4-year undergrad education. One thing in Kashmir is that like people who have come from a BSc or normal graduate schools and not from like say engineering or 4-year graduation, they have to do 1 or 2 year extra to get that kind of 4-year basic education. Then you are eligible for the PhD, and the requirements vary from course to course and school to school. But some of the basic things that you need to have is like at least your undergrad TOEFL score, I would say about 110 or 105 to say the least to get into any school. And then a GRE score, I would say like the GRE score should be like at least 310 for a PhD program. And one more thing is there that the subjects that we want to get enrolled in back in like say Kashmir or back in India, like economics, like English literature, or certain things like arts or civil engineering, I would say, here those courses are only pursued at a very advanced level. There is only one vacancy available for say structural design in civil engineering or economics, and until you are very sure you have a project proposal ready, I mean it's very hard to get in. So
It's very competitive. You have to
Yeah.
be really the best if you want to get in.
into those programs,
Exactly,
but there are
exactly.
programs which are new, the things that are being used here currently right now, I would say something like sustainable development, landscaping. Those are the things that are that are very far easier to get in than classical old subjects
How's it?
like
There's a question which has been continuously coming back to you.
Right.
So it's like, can you please talk about your research problem? Have you thought about it?
Okay, so right now I'm working on image super resolution. It's a kind of inverse problem. What we are trying to achieve is we are I'm working on a microscope project right now. What we do in there is we are using deep neural networks and generative adversarial networks and machine learning to super resolve a low resolution image into a very high resolution image. So that's the problem I'm working on. And
That sounds very technical to me. I don't know.
and
Do other people understand or not?
my
Make
job,
images sharper,
Yeah.
I guess.
What?
Like make older images sharper.
Junaid is
Not-
doing something. He's doing something which I don't know even what he's doing. So मुझे समझ ही नहीं आता इतना high फंडा है.
not only sharper, but like the lab, the Harvard lab I'm working on right now, they have built a very cheap, low-cost microscope, and we are trying to use software technologies and machine learning to get the same quality of microscopy from the low-cost microscope as we can get from a commercial high-grade microscope. So we are trying to reduce the cost of technology to make it accessible to developing world and to make it accessible to those labs who don't have a lot of money, I would say. That's exactly what I'm working on right now.
So
let
let
me-
me study America as well as India. आपके बारे में question है कि आपको India और America में क्या difference लगा education system में? मुझे क्या लगा मैं I'll tell you later on. पहले जुनैद से सुनते हैं.
I was gonna go towards that question. I think one of the things that
What's unique about American education?
I think it's comprehensive. I think it's holistic. In India, the focus was always on the marks and getting better grades, and that is actually to the detriment of development of your personality. I think the problem is that when you are focusing so much on just your studies, you tend to ignore the world outside you. You tend to ignore what's happening outside. How can I be helpful? How can I do some meaningful work? So the biggest difference is being involved with the society outside. Being involved with people, helping them out in whatever capacity. Being a volunteer in a lot of organizations. I sit on the leadership council of a lot of organizations, and we try to encourage students from middle school, from high school, to be more proactive. Don't just focus on studies. Studies are just one aspect of your life. Focus on, go volunteer at an old age place. Go volunteer in a hospital. Be useful, in research laboratories and other places.
So हमारे research के बारे में ये भी problem है कि अगर ये लोग यहाँ अपना research share करेंगे detail में तो it will be scooped. इसलिए हम ज़्यादा details भी आपको इनके research के बारे में नहीं दे सकते हैं.
I can explain the AI thing if you want.
Yeah, please. AI के बारे में, artificial intelligence के बारे में जुनैद.
So one of my projects is how do we use so let me just explain first of all. We know that computers are able to do certain things, but it's only because we code them in a certain way. What AI, artificial intelligence, does is it makes the computer automated. So the computer is able to do things which only humans were able to do before. So
can you tell them this in simpler language in Urdu or Hindi? Because the audience is more from India. So,
okay.
Yeah.
मतलब जैसे आप
सिंपल जबान में समझाओ कि क्या आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस,
जैसे आप इमेजिन करो कि पहले क्या होता था, अगर क्लिनिकल डायग्नोसिस फॉर एग्जांपल, अगर आप हॉस्पिटल में हो और अगर आपके पास पेशेंट आ रहा है तो आपको सोचनी है काफी सारी चीजें, आपको सिम्टम देखने हैं और उसके बाद आप डायग्नोसिस बनाओगे. मगर एआई क्या करता है कि दे सी द मेडिकल रिकॉर्ड्स, कि जैसे आपके पास एक पेशेंट है और आप उसका मेडिकल रिकॉर्ड देखोगे, फॉर एग्जांपल उसमें उसकी खांसी है, चेस्ट एक्सरे खराब है और मे बी सीटी पे कुछ लीजन्स दिख रहे हैं. तो एआई क्या करता है कि प्रिडिक्ट करता है कि इस बंदे को मे बी डाउन द लाइन 5 years में इसको कैंसर हो सकता है. तो आप पहले ही प्रिडिक्ट कर पा रहे हो कि क्या हो रहा है इस बंदे के साथ, एंड यू कैन टेक इनिशिएटिव्स. आप उस टाइम पे उसको कह सकते हो कि हमारे पास ये ट्रीटमेंट है, हमारे पास सर्टेन मोडालिटीज है, सर्जरी है जो आप कर सकते हो, क्योंकि हमें लग रहा है कि डाउन द लाइन आपको एक मे बी 5 साल के बाद, 6 साल के बाद मे बी आपका डायग्नोसिस खराब हो सकता है. तो जो प्रिडिक्टिव कैपेसिटी जो सिर्फ पहले इंसान कर सकते थे वो अब कंप्यूटर्स कर सकते हैं और हम उनको सिखा रहे हैं, यू टीचिंग. सो आई थिंक दैट इज
कंप्यूटर्स आर बिकमिंग इंटेलिजेंट.
एग्जैक्टली.
एक क्वेश्चन इंपॉर्टेंट है कि पैसा कितना लगता है यहाँ पे. सो क्वेश्चन फातिमा एंड जुनैद as well as Mudassir, how much money do you require to be here and what are the kind of tuition fee and how do you manage it? So would you suggest that somebody comes on his own funding or should somebody try for fellowships and scholarships?
For an international student, I would say definitely rely on a fellowship or a scholarship. It's very, very pricey. Yearly tuition is anywhere from $55,000 to $65,000 a year, depending on the program. That's roughly the tuition. So unless you have a partial scholarship or your government funding you, external scholarships you can also apply. The university also awards like certain, presidential like scholarships to like people with like very good applications. So yeah, I definitely try for that. For me, as an American, I did get funding. I got a partial scholarship from the school, as well as there's certain federal loans that we can take. So I had to actually ultimately get my funding from
scholarships के बगैर I'll add to
Fatima,
sorry for cutting you because fellowships के बारे में मैं बताऊं कि scholarship के बगैर पढ़ना यहाँ मुश्किल है. मेरी जो फी है मेरे कोर्स की करीबन 50 लाख रुपीस है एक साल की, और मेरी हैसियत उतनी नहीं है टू बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट. अगर मुझे फुल ब्राइट स्कॉलरशिप से सपोर्ट नहीं मिला होता मैं आज यहाँ नहीं आता. या तो मुझे लोन लेना था, अब लोन लेने के लिए भी आई नीडेड टू हैव अ हाई पेइंग जॉब, और जिस तरह की सैलरीज हमारी इंडिया में होती हैं इट्स वेरी एक्सपेंसिव. सो इफ यू आर रियली गुड यू विल गेट अ फेलोशिप, यू विल गेट अ स्कॉलरशिप. आपको हार्वर्ड या एमआईटी खुद स्कॉलरशिप देगा इन केस यू आर गुड.
Can I just say one
Yeah,
other thing?
I would also like to add something.
In addition to people just calculating the tuition, but Boston is a very expensive city, so you have to take into consideration your living expenses. Boston is actually the third most richest and most expensive city in America. So rent in a small studio or apartment, even a shared accommodation, is quite expensive. And so if you take that into consideration, it like nearly doubles. Not doubles, but I would say you need to keep at least $3,000 aside just for monthly expenses.
So I would like to add something to like what Feasal said. We usually have this thing that maybe the education in US is very unaffordable. In fact, it is. But for a master's course, I think there are many families in Kashmir, or average families in Kashmir, or average students who can take a loan and do a master's here, just like people from Bangladesh, Pakistan, and India come here on loan and do their masters here, get a job, and once they get a job, they are able to like get that much of amount of money that they took as a loan. They are able to recover that in a year or maybe 2 years at the most. But that is really, really worth it. I mean, it might cost in an average city in the US, it might cost say 30 to 40 lakh for a master's degree, and once you get a job, you are paid like $100,000 or $70,000 a year after your master's, and you are able to recover that amount of money that you invested for 2 years here in just a year or two. So I think like people should try more, even if like they don't get any kind of scholarship. they should try to get a loan and try to come here on their own for a master's program, because it's a very unique experience, studying abroad. And it ups your chances to recover that amount of money very easily than you would anticipate back in Kashmir. I would like to say.
Sophie Irfan question पूछ रहे हैं, how important is a recommendation letter for in Harvard? तो postdoc के बारे में recommendation letters क्या role है?
Recommendation letter is important वो है aspect of getting into postdoc, but also like your research, what you have done during your PhD. So PhD में अगर first author paper है, so then it is easy. Then like recommendation is one of the important thing, but usually PIs look into your first author papers here. तो first author paper होना जरूरी है. Recommendation is equally important, and recommendation should be from the person which you are like, which is your mentor or someone who is like, जिसके साथ आपने काम किया, उसका recommendation बहुत वैल्यू रखता है as compared to someone who is strange to you.
एक important input शबीर की तरफ से. आगे शबीर, you were here, you are a very expert moderator, आपने बड़ा जबरदस्त इसको किया होता. तो शबीर कह रहे हैं कि मास्टर्स के लिए यूरोप इज मोर इकोनॉमिकल, और यूरोप की भी जो यूनिवर्सिटीज हैं, यूके की, जर्मनी की, फ्रांस की, और जो बाकी इटली की, नेदरलैंड्स की, वहाँ पे आप ऑनलाइन अपना एडमिशन ट्राई कर सकते हैं. इट्स मोर इकोनॉमिकल, थोड़ा सस्ता वहाँ पे एजुकेशन है, और एजुकेशन की क्वालिटी बहुत अच्छी है. वी वुड आल्सो आस्क जुनैद टू टॉक अबाउट कि जो एसेंस जो यहाँ की एजुकेशन की है वो कैसे डिफरेंट है, इनको क्या डिफरेंस लगा, इन्होंने कई कंट्रीज में पढ़ा है, तो वहाँ और यहाँ पे क्या इनको डिफरेंस लगा?
तो सबसे बड़ी चीज जो मैंने नोटिस की है पहले से, और जो मैं फैसल भाई के साथ भी डिस्कस कर रहा था पिछले कुछ दिनों से, वो ये है कि जो हमारी एजुकेशन जो हो रही है, मतलब कश्मीर हो या इंडिया, दिल्ली में या कहीं पर भी, हमारा सारा फोकस हमेशा ग्रेड्स की तरफ होता है. मतलब मार्क्स कितने हैं, और एंड ट्रू, मतलब वो जरूरी है, मगर एट द सेम टाइम अगर आप सिर्फ अपने ग्रेड्स पे और अपने सिर्फ मार्क्स पे ध्यान देंगे, तो आप जो कर सकते हैं सोसाइटी में, जो आप हेल्प कर सकते हैं, वो आप इग्नोर करेंगे. तो मेरा जो सबसे बड़ा टेक अवे है, और जो मेरी सबसे बड़ी रिकमेंडेशन है, जो भी इंटरेस्टेड है, आप बॉस्टन में इंटरेस्टेड हैं या कहीं और इंडिया में या यूरोप में, सबसे बड़ी चीज है कि यू हैव टू मेक योर लाइफ एंड योर प्रोफेशनल एस्पेक्ट जो है आपका, यू हैव टू मेक इट मोर कॉम्प्रहेंसिव. आप सिर्फ एक चीज पे ध्यान नहीं दे सकते, आपको दिखाना है, मतलब नॉट जस्ट एडमिशन के लिए, मगर आपके कॉलीग्स के लिए और आपके दोस्तों के लिए, कि देयर आर सम थिंग्स दैट यू केयर अबाउट. फॉर मी इट्स पब्लिक हेल्थ. फॉर मी इट्स जो लोग हैं जिनके पास हेल्थ केयर और जिनके पास उतने रिसोर्सेज नहीं है कि वो अच्छी ट्रीटमेंट कर सकें, उनको हम कैसे हेल्प कर सकते हैं, हम कैसे जो रिसोर्सेज है हमारे पास, क्योंकि हर एक कंट्री के पास रिसोर्सेज हैं, वो इस्तेमाल कैसे हो रहे हैं वो प्रॉब्लम है. प्रॉब्लम ये नहीं कि हमारे पास रिसोर्सेज नहीं है. इंडिया में भी हमारे पास काफी रिसोर्सेज हैं, मगर हम इस्तेमाल नहीं कर रहे हैं उसे ठीक तरह से.
मुझे भी लगा कि मतलब इंडिया के सिस्टम के बारे में हमें ये लगा कि हम वहाँ सिर्फ मार्क्स के पीछे होते हैं. ऑनेस्टली जब मैं भी पहले यहाँ आया, तो हमारी आदत होती है एग्जाम में टॉप करने की, एग्जाम में ज्यादा काम करने की, यार स्कोर्स आने चाहिए, ग्रेड्स आने चाहिए. यहाँ वो कॉन्सेप्ट ही नहीं है. पीपल आर नॉट बॉदर्ड. आपका ग्रेड किसी को पता ही नहीं चलता है, आपको ए आया, बी आया, सी आया, और आप और आपके एग्जामिनर के बीच में है. और व्हाट मैटर्स इज कि आप आगे पढ़ने लायक हैं कि नहीं है, वो डिपेंड करेगा. सिस्टम आपको खुद फिल्टर करेगा. सिस्टम विल थ्रो यू आउट इफ यू हैव अ गुड ग्रेड बट यू डोंट हैव अ गुड अंडरस्टैंडिंग. हमारे सिस्टम में अभी ये नहीं है. हम सिर्फ सिलेबस के पीछे लगे हैं. हम सिर्फ लगे हैं कि बंदे को कितना याद है, इसको पूरे दुनिया के कंट्रीज की कैपिटल्स याद है. अरे यार अभी तो गूगल आ रहा, एआई आ रहा, क्या कर रहा है, इतना सब कुछ चीजें, फजूल चीजें याद करके रोट लर्निंग के लिए हमने अभी तक आई थिंक कॉन्सेप्ट बिल्डिंग पे अभी उतना काम नहीं किया. फातिमा, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, and as I mentioned before, it's not really after grades, it's a holistic thing. People are doing so much more outside of the classroom. People are, organizing events.
Exactly.
There's, like so many get-togethers, but I mean, not just socially, but for a certain political cause. People are just doing so much outside the classroom and then there's no ranking here, so no one cares if you're getting like an 80% or, once you're admitted, you just have to pass, really.
But you need good grades to get in.
Yeah, that's
You need
true.
good grades to get in.
Don't ignore the grades.
No, you do need the grades, that's true. But once you're in, like, it's a bit of a relief because
एक क्वेश्चन आ रहा है that do you miss your home? कश्मीर आप मिस कर रहे हैं कि नहीं कर रहे? मुदस्सिर, do you miss your place?
Yes.
क्या what do you miss the most?
घर वाले हैं वहाँ पे तो मिस करते ही हैं।
मेरी फैमिली भी I also miss my people और मुझे यहाँ खाना खाने में थोड़ा दिक्कत आती है अभी I'm trying to adjust myself मगर yeah we do miss our place. Kashmir is like one of the best places in the world. हमारे लिए बहुत बड़ी चीज है. Hazik, you miss your place?
Yeah, sometimes.
No, definitely, I miss it a lot. And मौका मिलता है मुझे कभी कभी जाने का साल में एक बार या दो बार मैं कोशिश करता हूँ मगर कश्मीर और इंडिया in general मतलब it's very close to my heart. So definitely.
I'm not Kashmiri.
फातिमा
but-
आप कश्मीर गए थे recently. What are your perceptions? What are you understanding? कैसा लगा आपको experience वहाँ का?
Well, I went almost like 3 years ago, so actually long overdue that I plan a trip.
Oh, you should visit.
Yeah, and I really do miss everyone there. Everyone is so warm and welcoming. My in-laws are amazing people. By the way, Assalamualaikum, where's my hi, mommy, daddy, everyone. Rafidi, I think you're watching too. Hi everyone, I miss you guys.
एक क्वेश्चन है सोशल मीडिया हाजिक के साथ where can people interact with Hazik on social media? Hazik?
I have a page on Facebook, like that's my name. I think Hasabai has already tagged me in the post. You can reach me out on like Facebook or Twitter, anywhere, and I'll try to answer your questions as quickly as possible for me. So yeah, definitely anything anything you want to know related to admissions or particularly how you can get into computer science, I think I would be more than glad to help in that way.
शाहिद सलीम साहब टॉक्स अबाउट कि लोन का जो आइडिया मिला कि एजुकेशनल लोन लेना चाहिए शाहिद सलीम साहब appreciates शाहिद सलीम is a very senior officer in the state administration ये आई थिंक ये वाला कॉन्सेप्ट हमने अभी समझा नहीं है कि लोन लेना चाहिए कि नहीं लेना चाहिए यहाँ पे एवरीबॉडी हैज अ स्टूडेंट्स लोन ये
एग्जैक्टली
बड़ी आम सी बात है यहाँ पे
और इंडिया के जितने भी यहाँ पे स्टूडेंट्स हैं या पाकिस्तान के जितने पाकिस्तान में ज्यादा नहीं लेकिन इंडिया के जितने भी यहाँ स्टूडेंट्स हैं who have done very very well, even Satya Nadella, who is the Microsoft CIO right now, Sundar Pichai, all those people like they have taken loans back home and they were able to finish their masters here and then they were able to recover their money once they got a job. Now is it worth the investment? I would definitely say like it's 100% worth the investment because of the culture, because it completely transforms your perspective of how you see the world, and that puts you in a very unique position to give back in a much more magnitude than what you invest in. So I think that would be
रफी साहब डायरेक्टर स्कूल एजुकेशन रहे हैं और मेरे बॉस भी रहे हैं ही इज अप्रिशिएटिंग ये जो इनिशिएटिव है इजाब और शफी भी अप्रिशिएट कर रहे हैं नजीर दास साहब कह रहे हैं इस टीम के लिए कुछ वाजवान भेजने की जरूरत है आई विश तो एक सवाल है कि यहाँ और वहाँ में क्या फर्क है ऑनेस्टली स्पीकिंग ये जगह आपको सपने दिखाना स्टार्ट करती है आई हैव बीन मैं लोलाब से आया हूँ कभी मैं सोचता हूँ कि लोलाब के उस दूर दराज इलाके से यहाँ आना कुपवारा से आना और फिर इसी तरह की स्टोरीज आपको सबकी तरफ से सुनने को मिलती हैं अमेजिंग स्टोरीज ये इसको दिखाया he has already shown them.
So I just want to guys, I just want to want you to have a look at how it looks like on a daily on a very regular day here. So you can see it's like you can identify faces from like every single country in the world, and this is like the Harvard Square where we are at. So I think this is like really amazing.
We have a couple of important questions. One, we have hello from Rais for Junaid. Rais sahab, hello. We were talking about you yesterday. शाहनवाज एक बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट वहाँ पे रोल निभा रहे हैं शाहनवाज कह रहे हैं कि हाउ डू यू कन्विंस हार्वर्ड कि यू आर मेड फॉर हार्वर्ड तो हार्वर्ड की जो एप्लीकेशन है वो सारा डिपेंड करेगा कि आप अपने आप को कैसे प्रेजेंट करते हैं जुनैद वुड यू टेल अ लिटिल बिट अबाउट कि हार्वर्ड की एप्लीकेशन में तीन छोटी छोटी चीजें 3 टिप्स स्मॉल टिप्स क्या होनी चाहिए
I think you have to be interesting. Number one, you have to do something which has an impact on people's life, and you have to be someone with stellar academic credentials. So I think these three are very important.
I would like to add something to that because my GPA has been very average before coming here, and I have been a kind of person who has never put a lot of efforts or thinking into what kind of grades I'm getting. But right from the very beginning of joining an undergrad engineering program, and even much before that, I was like always fascinated by technology, and I have spent most of my childhood reading and trying to like be connected and involved into that subject, and I think that has really helped me a lot because like you need to have that kind of build up of the subject that you are going to pursue your research in, and that kind of reflects in the way you approach problems and you approach the subject. And that I think like even if we don't have that much of standards in Kashmir to the international standards or say in India, but I would say that self working or trying to know the subject more on your own, trying to read, trying to connect to the people who are working in the domain, that's really very helpful.
One important point which I would want to share is about Kashmiris. Sorry, friends from other parts of the world. I don't mean that this is not for Kashmiris, but because there are a lot of questions about that. So Kashmiris are really doing here. Whenever you go, wherever you go in America, all other places, all universities, businesses, they are really doing excellent. So you don't have to be anything apprehensive about it. I think people are doing really, really well. The entire Kashmiri diaspora in America is very, very successful. They are doing really well in life. They are heading startups. They are professors. They are in Harvard and MIT. You cannot possibly name a place where they are not. You would agree with me?
Yeah, and I think it goes around with it goes along with the Indian diaspora. I think in general, people from India tend to be very hardworking, including Kashmir, and so that is something I'm not surprised by. I think we have a very high work ethic in Kashmir and other places, and that is reflected by the successes of when they go around the world. It's just that the system here supports your hard work. The system here is appreciative of the input that you put, so the system rewards you for the input that you're trying to put into it.
Also, one more fun fact I would like to share with you that these days companies in San Francisco and California as a whole, they are looking for the thing they are specifically looking for in your resume is your failure resume. A small part of it should talk about your what are the
Failures,
kinds of
exactly.
failures that you have
Important
faced.
point.
That
अगर हमारे सिस्टम में आप फेलियर के बारे में बात करेंगे, people will push you back.
exactly.
यहाँ पे फेलियर को अप्रिशिएट किया जाता है.
और-
It means you have a lot of experience.
एंड आपने उस फेलियर से क्या सीखा, आप क्यों फेल हो गए और आपको क्या उससे क्या सीखने को मिला, वो चीज यहाँ पे लाइक कंपनीज चाहती है कि आप अपने रिज्यूम में लिखें कि आपने उस फेलियर आप कब फेल हुए और आपने उस फेलियर से क्या सीखा. सो दैट्स अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग. एंड वन मोर थिंग इज लाइक जो हमारी प्रॉब्लम्स वहाँ पे कश्मीर में है, यहाँ पे जो प्रॉब्लम्स है इन लोगों की यूएस में, दैट आर एंटायरली डिफरेंट. यहाँ पे जो इस वक्त की सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है पूरे यूएस की, वो है ये है कि आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस की वजह से सबसे ज्यादा जॉब्स जो है वो डिस्प्लेस हो रहे हैं, रिप्लेस हो रहे हैं. तो उन जॉब्स को लोग क्योंकि एक जॉब की वजह से लोगों को दे get many people drive their reason to live or from their own work or job. एक जॉब इंसान को ये काइंड ऑफ पीस देता है कि मेरी कहीं ना कहीं जरूरत है, मैं कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट काम कर रहा हूँ, जिसकी वजह से उसको दिन ब दिन लाइक ही इज एबल टू लिव, कि उससे जॉब की एक सेटिस्फेक्शन मिलती है. लेकिन अगर एआई हमारे जॉब्स को रिप्लेस करता है, लाइक अगर हम देखते हैं कि सेल्फ ड्राइविंग कार्स की वजह से लाइक एक हमारा एक सेक्शन ऑफ सोसाइटी है जो सिर्फ कैब ड्राइविंग पे अपना लाइवलीहुड कमाता है, जिनको लाइफ की सेटिस्फेक्शन कैब ड्राइविंग से मिलती है, तो वो पूरे लोग रिप्लेस होने वाले हैं. तो
लेकिन हर किसी को यहाँ एक इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट है कि यहाँ हर किसी बंदे को सेंस ऑफ डिग्निटी, सेंस ऑफ प्राइड है जो वो कर रहे हैं.
एग्जैक्ट
टैक्सी ड्राइवर की बात करें, टैक्सी ड्राइवर इतना खुश है कि वो टैक्सी चला रहा है, इतनी रिस्पेक्ट से वो टैक्सी चला रहा है और उसको रिस्पेक्ट दे रहे हैं. बस ड्राइवर है, उसको जो रिस्पेक्ट मिलती है कि वो बस ड्राइवर है, वो शायद यूनिवर्सिटी का स्टूडेंट है, पार्ट टाइम बस चलाता है. और इन चीजों में यहाँ पे जो डिग्निटी ऑफ लेबर है वो जबरदस्त. एक इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है हाजिक के लिए और जुनैद के लिए, ये जैन फुरकान पूछ रहे हैं कि यहाँ शादी कैसे कर सकते हैं अमेरिका में. So these two guys may take the question.
Yeah,
I haven't done it.
Maybe some other podcast.
sometime
Later.
And I'm still trying to figure it out. I have been here for 2
मैं
years.
एक्सपेक्ट कर रहा हूँ कि हमारे नेक्स्ट पॉडकास्ट में शबीर हसन will join us with more inputs from यूरोप के जो एजुकेशन सिस्टम है उसके बारे में. We'll be getting better I think next weekend. और बहुत सारे सवाल ये आ रहे हैं कि ये जो स्कॉलरशिप्स और फेलोशिप्स और इन चीज़ों के एडमिशन प्रोसेस के बारे में थोड़ा डिटेल्ड और डीप डिस्कशन होना चाहिए. वो है रूप साहब, यूनुस फाजली साहब, आफरीन वगैरह पूछ रहे हैं कि क्या एक प्रोग्राम फिर से होगा. वी आर इंशाल्लाह ट्राइंग कि नेक्स्ट वीकेंड विल ट्राई वन मोर टाइम कि हम एक इम्पोर्टेंट टॉपिक पे यहाँ पे एक और पैनल बिठाएंगे और आपके साथ फिर से बात करेंगे. साइबर सिक्योरिटी के बारे में देयर आर क्वेश्चंस. एक क्वेश्चन है कि इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज की फ्लुएंसी क्या मैटर करती है? तो हाजिक, इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज फ्लुएंसी डज इट मैटर?
नहीं, यहाँ पे हमारी लैब में जितने भी बंदे काम करते हैं, जितने भी लोग काम करते हैं, वो सारे चाइनीज लोग हैं, उनको इंग्लिश आती ही नहीं है. नॉर्थ कोरियन लोग हैं, उनको इंग्लिश आती ही नहीं है. बट एज लॉन्ग एज यू आर एबल टू वर्क एंड यू आर एबल टू communicate in however fragmented way, it should be fine. I think it's fine. Or एक
Fatima.
I would say it depends on the setting. You're right about the labs having people who speak who are not very fluent, but it's okay in a lab because they're doing like the grunt work of the lab. Yeah. But if you're like in something that requires more public speaking, like for example, all the master's program across like Harvard, for the professional degrees, you do need to know how to speak, and you do need to know how to express yourself accurately. It's very important. Writing papers is essential. I mean, we don't have homework per se. We have mostly papers, the formal papers. So I think that comes with like the need for a certain level of fluency.
एक क्वेश्चन है हाजिर के लिए कि जो अफशान पूछ रहे हैं that what are the security issues in artificial intelligence? थोड़ा सा क्विकली अगर आप बताएं जल्दी.
इस वक्त सबसे जो प्राइमरी कंसर्न हम सबका रहता है, लाइक जितने भी लोग एआई में काम करते हैं, सबसे बड़ा जो सिक्योरिटी इशू है कि we are fueling a kind of technology and we don't have enough regulatory mechanism at place right now. Like अगर आप Google की बात देखेंगे, it has all this data, it has all this data and so much of power that it can it has much power our lives than any other organization in the whole world. And having this much of power concentrated in one organization, and what are the kind of ethical issues that come up with that amount of power, we don't have the necessary regulatory mechanism to check that power at this point of time. So I think that's that's one of the concerns right now. And about security, yeah, we are very concerned about the advent of quantum computers that's going to happen in a couple of more years, that will render the existing security kind of useless because of the ability of quantum computers to traverse back in almost every direction and tamper with these kind of security mechanisms. I would say that.
एक क्वेश्चन है मुदस्सिर के लिए कि पोस्ट डॉक मिलना कितना इजी या मुश्किल है यहाँ पे?
Honestly, like ज़्यादा मुश्किल तो नहीं है, unless you have a recommendation letter and first author paper, like in a good journal. Like first author. So
you need publications. You need
publication, and that too in a good journal. Okay. Not like third, fourth author. Like it should be first author.
आपका publication बड़ा ज़रूरी है if you want to get into postdoc here. Right. Yeah. Hazik, you want to say something?
और सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ जो मुझे यहाँ पे लोगों में लगती है, जैसे हमारे जो हमारे लड़के होते हैं 20 years के 19 years के, उनके जो पैशंस और एक्साइटमेंट्स होती है वो इस दुनिया से बहुत कट ऑफ होती है. यहाँ पे अगर आप एवरेज स्टूडेंट को देखेंगे जो 19 years का है, 20 years का है, या 20 to 30 years के जो लोग हैं, उनकी जो एक्साइटमेंट्स लाइफ में रहती है, अगर आप यहाँ पे यूएस में देखेंगे, एवरीवन इज सो एक्साइटेड अबाउट स्पेस, SpaceX doing these wonderful things, and human species going to Mars in 2030, and people are so excited about quantum computers, people are excited about self-driving cars, people are very excited about the new things that happen in technology, how human species is evolving, what are the kind of now we are going to be it's a very, very exciting phase to be alive today for humanity, because we are going to be a multi-planetary species. We are going to Mars, and we are going to be in the stars, in the skies now. So everyone is so excited about it, and everyone keeps a track of when is the next launch going to be happening, when is the next technology going to be launched. But in Kashmir, we are completely cut off with this whole idea, even though we have access to internet.
हमें research वहाँ सबसे बकवास चीज़ हमें research लगता है, जबकि यहाँ सबसे ज़्यादा इज्जत है रिसर्चर्स की और रिसर्च की, और दुनिया को कैसे बदला जा सकता है,
राइट,
लोगों की लाइव्स को कैसे चेंज कर सकते हैं, उस पर यहाँ बात हो रही है. आई वुड लास्ट के जो हम फेज में आया है, फातिमा, एनी टिप्स फॉर ये ताहिर मागरे पूछ रहे हैं कि कश्मीरी जो लोग हैं या इंडिया के जो बाकी हमारे पाकिस्तान से देख रहे हैं, इंडिया से देख रहे हैं, बहुत सारे बाकी कंट्री से हमें लोग देख रहे हैं, तो what would be couple of tips कि बच्चों को क्या करना चाहिए?
You mean in terms of
Yeah, how
preparation
can
of
kids
coming here?
how can kids do well in life? I mean students, what would be your message for the students?
Oh, so that's a very broad, not admission related, correct? Um, I would say, focus on keep multi-pronged approach. Don't just focus on studies. I think this has been discussed earlier. I'm just going to bring it closer because a lot of people have been saying that you can't hear me. So I'll try my best to be audible. I would just say, it's not all about studies. Be an innovator. Be someone who follows their passion. Because I think, like, in order to be successful, you need to live your truth. I know it sounds really vague, but you can't just do what is prescribed for you. My parents forced me to be in medical school, which luckily I ended up liking. But if you just follow like a prescribed path, I know in Kashmir there's very limited things. It's either doctor, engineer, or like a public servant, right? I mean, there's not a whole lot of options. So I don't think you'll be happy doing like what's just prescribed for you. You should find like your niche in the world. You should find like what you like. Try to reinvent yourself, and just do what makes you happy. It sounds very generically American, but I'm serious.
Yeah, Junaid, a couple of tips for the Kashmiri students. We'll be concluding with that.
So I think just trying to summarize all of the recommendations. I think you need to be cognizant that life is much more than just studies, and that you need to focus on the society you're in. You need to focus on the people you are living with and how can you improve their lives. It can be in any way. You can have an impact through health, through finance, through public service, whatever you like. But you need to keep a focus that I want to help people around me. I want to have a meaningful impact on people around me, and I want to see everyone grow with me, and that's important.
Exactly. मुझे लगता है सबा हमें पाकिस्तान से पूछ रही हैं कि क्या करना चाहिए. सबा, I think formula सबके लिए same है कि one has to challenge yourself. Everybody has to challenge himself or herself, and something extra has to be done. Something makes you different from others. And while doing that, you don't have to necessarily push people around. I think you can carry everybody along. You have to be a great team leader, team builder, and also maybe you have to look into the deeper questions of life. I think जो हम superficially चीजों के बारे में चलते हैं, that's somehow which breeds mediocrity. I think it's about how deep possibly you can reflect into the life around you, into the people around you. I think that's what makes the difference.
I can see a question from Zubair Said Masoodi, and he's asking again and again about AI and ML. And right now, I think that we are up with the time for this podcast. And if possible, you can directly reach out to me on my Facebook, and I can answer whatever your question is. Like if it's anything technical related to AI and ML, it was just like an introductory podcast.
Mudassir, would you want your message, last words? Can you turn a little
bit? I think हमें ओपन माइंडेड होना चाहिए. जो भी कर रहे हैं मतलब अच्छे से करो. ऐसा नहीं कि कोई छोटा सा भी कोई काम छोटा नहीं होता है. तो अच्छे से जो भी कर रहे हो, just open your mind and see the world.
और English is just a language. इंग्लिश का मतलब नहीं है कि इंग्लिश करके आप आओगे तो आपको हार्वर्ड MIT में वहां पे मालाएं पहनाई जाएंगी. यहाँ पे हर कोई इंग्लिश बोलता है. यहाँ किसी को कम ही नहीं आप इंग्लिश बोलते नहीं बोलते. If you have ideas, the entire world will respect you. We have received a lot of questions. मैंने बहुत कोशिश की कि जितने सारे क्वेश्चंस हैं उनको हम अकोमोडेट कर पाए और कॉन्वर्सेशन को भी हम बीच में डिस्टर्ब ना होने दें. स्टिल देयर आर अ लॉट ऑफ क्वेश्चंस जो हम इस वक्त जवाब नहीं दे पाए. हम कोशिश करेंगे कि जो हमारा ये जो टाइमलाइन है उस पर हम रिटन आंसर्स बहुत सारे लोगों को देने की कोशिश करेंगे. नेक्स्ट वाले पॉडकास्ट में हम एक्सपेक्ट करेंगे कि शबीर के साथ जो हमारा लिंक है वो और हो जाए बेटर, और उसकी जो एंकरिंग है उसका बेनिफिट आपको मिले, ताकि मुझे भी थोड़ा बोलने का मौका मिलेगा. आज मुझे एंकरिंग करने का मौका मिलेगा. आई डोंट नो, आई कुड नॉट टॉक मच बिकॉज इस वाली पोजीशन से डिफिकल्ट होता है. लॉट ऑफ यंगस्टर्स, लॉट ऑफ यूथ, लॉट ऑफ एल्डर्स, रिस्पेक्टेबल्स फ्रॉम इंडिया, पाकिस्तान, श्रीलंका, बांग्लादेश, other countries, US are appreciating this initiative. मैं आपका सबका शुक्रिया अदा करता हूँ. और हमारे सारे जो कलीग्स हैं इन्होंने अपना वीकेंड निकाल के, सबा ने, जुनैद ने, आजिक ने, मुदस्सिर ने, इन्होंने अपना वीकेंड निकाल के they spent some time with us to guide the youngsters in all these countries. हम कोशिश करेंगे कि नेक्स्ट वीकेंड हम शायद इसको बेटर करके कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट स्पेसिफिक टॉपिक्स पे आपके साथ बात करने की कोशिश करेंगे. I think this is all from us today. If you have any suggestions, how do we improve this podcast next time? What would be some of the questions? जो आप चाहेंगे, जो topics आप चाहेंगे cover करना, you can inbox any of us. हमारे जो इस वाले podcast में tagging की हुई है. This podcast was very very successful. I think we have has a huge audience across the world watching us. अल्लाह ने चाहा हम next time अगले हफ्ते hopefully आपके साथ फिर से बात करेंगे. Thank you very much.
All right, take care, everyone.
Bye. Take care,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.
Oh my gosh, someone said